to Leading the Way podcast, where you'll learn neuroscience-backed ways to lead more effectively and have more fun at work with what you already have. Hey there, it's Chris from Leading the Way. So excited to have you with us today, and awesome special guest, Heather Barber, is with us today. Heather, welcome to the show. Thank you for being Leading the Way.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm going to tell our guest all about you. You already know all about you, but they don't. So bear with me for a second, and while I share all your awesome accolades. So folks, Heather Barber is just this phenomenal CEO, and she's also known as the Queen of Raps, WARPS Raps. She's always been involved in her family business since she was 8 years old. Entrepreneurship's clearly in her DNA and her blood. And after graduating from the University of Utah, she founded her own company with her three brothers at the young age of 23. What began as a small family business just has blossomed and grown thanks to her drive and hard work and her innovation. They have over 5 subsidiaries, 40 employees, and a 40,000 square foot campus. Again, she's literally the queen of raps. We'll have her link in the show notes below so you can check that out. She founded her own consulting company called Crown Consulting Company last year, and she shares her knowledge through consulting and speaking. Her big, awesome, audacious goal is to have 500 keynotes in her lifetime, and she's well on the way to make that happen. And she's got a new book we'll also talk about today. It's called That's a Wrap: Strategies for Anchoring and Achieving Your Goals from the Queen. It's due to be published in Q1 2025. She's received her MBA from Louisiana State University, and she's a self-proclaimed group fitness junkie. In her spare time, when she's got any spare time, you'll find her at the gym. Heather, again, so glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate that amazing intro.
Well, it's all true. So I appreciate you being amazing. So, jumping in, we talked a little bit before about the show, and I know a little bit about your book. One of the things you talk about, and that's a big important thing to your life, you talk about setting anchors. Can you tell our guests more about what that means to you?
So to me, your anchors are your non-negotiables, just what you want to accomplish, what is guiding that path. I think a lot of people have that false idea that life happens to them, that they're just adrift out there. And when in fact, in reality, you can anchor your life and set your life up around those anchors. And then you will get to the destination that you want. You won't just be drifting around.
Right. And it's such a great thing too, because things are gonna happen, right, in our life, and some unexpected things. I know you mentioned recently for you had a really exciting summer plan for yourself, and then something came up and you had to, go back to your anchors. Can you tell us more about what's going on there?
It's what is it? Murphy's Law. I'm writing this book about anchors, and I had this huge marathon summer planned. My daughter's going to go to high school next year, so our time will be limited in summers and vacations and that type of stuff. So I literally had 90 days straight vacation, straight fun, quality, quantity time with the family, all paid for, all planned out, everything.
Wow.
On June 2nd, my husband was hiking and slipped and tore his 3 ligaments of his quad off of his knee.
Ow.
So literally, like in a millisecond, my life completely changed.
Yeah.
And I knew that my anchors are, number 1, my faith in God and that relationship. And number 2 would be fostering relationships with my family.
Yeah.
So it was not easy, not easy at all, but we ended up canceling the entire summer. I could have left him here on the couch after a surgery. We could have done a lot of things, but I decided that nope, we need to regroup. I need to serve my husband at this point. If this is really my number 2 anchor, I need to put in the quantity and quality time of helping my husband in his rehabilitation, helping him literally do everything from like sitting on the couch to putting on his underwear. I mean, just every single thing. And now we are, so let's see, 7 weeks into this, and he will be up and ready to go just in time for Labor Day. So,
Right at the end.
so I am literally living what I'm preaching. And you know what? It looks a little different than what I thought it would be,
Yeah.
but I'm finding joy in the simplicity and joy in that service and slowing down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful because and I'm glad to hear he's healing up well, most importantly, and you're enjoying the time. But things are going to happen, especially in a family with kiddos, but just in life and things we don't expect. And after that initial thing, you sort of have a choice of are you going to let it overtake you and consume you or are you going to move through it? And I love this idea of anchors of things that are those non-negotiables for you being your guide in those times. I think it's just a very powerful analogy. Instead of drifting, as you said before. The other thing I know that we chatted about before a little bit is how you develop competency or how you recommend developing competency through being consistent. You've got a story when you started your business, Queen of Wraps, back in the day. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about that?
Well, I didn't know what I was living at the time. You
Yeah.
know, when you're like too young and dumb and stupid to know what you don't know,
Yes.
that's where we were.
Right.
So, of course, I got out of grad school and I'm literally the smartest person on the planet. So, why not start a business when I'm 23 years old? And this is in 2006. So, right before the Great Recession, we saw a hole in the market. Um, I've always been from a very entrepreneurial family. And so my brothers and I said, why not? We've got nothing, tying us down. We're young and let's do
Yeah.
this. So we started the company and it was a learning experience to say the least. Like they don't teach any of this stuff in business school. This is all just, you're learning on the fly. And we decided that we wanted to wrap vehicles. Now,
Mm.
I have to set the scene here. 2006, Salt Lake City, Utah, wrapping vehicles was like revolutionary. I am talking like walking on the moon and wrapping vehicles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were ahead of our time. It sounds like cliche, but honestly, like we weren't that far off from like horse and buggy in Salt Lake City in 2006. So, wrapping vehicles was like the big new thing.
Sure.
So we decided to get into that space because we saw a hole in the market. There was nothing available in Salt Lake. So we just did it. And honestly, like 2008 happened and the world just rumbled around us. But we were so focused on selling vehicle wraps and learning the process as we're going that by the time we figured out that all of our competition was gone, because we just kept trudging. We just kept doing,
Yeah.
the thing that we set out to do. And by way of accident, we put all of our competition out of business. And now what? 20 something years later, I'm literally the queen of wraps. It used to take us 1 week to do a vehicle wrap, one vehicle, one
Wow.
week. Now we do 8 a day.
Nice.
So we've got this thing down to a science. And we're literally a fixture on I-15 and I-80 right there on the corner. We've been in this building for 20 years now, and it's that competency through consistency
Mm.
that I will shout from the rooftops, just get going in a direction and keep going in that direction. If
Yeah.
you see a path, go. Don't second guess yourself, just go. Competency through consistency.
Love it. Love it. I mean, that seems similar to, like the Kaizen, continuous improvement, agile stuff, right? It's take action right away, keep moving and stay with it. I absolutely love that. I, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, a little bit off the cuff. I mean, you're an incredibly successful CEO, and some people can be intimidated by that, right? And I know that's not who you are, but folks can choose to feel intimidated by seeing someone successful and like think they maybe can't be successful as them, right? Any guidance you would have for someone that might have that going on or imposter syndrome or whatever they're calling it, and they really want to be successful like you are, they've got an idea, maybe they haven't taken action. Any quick guidance you would give them?
Um, First of all, I am nothing special. I am literally the laziest person on this planet. If there is an easier way to do something, I will figure it out because I am so like I do not want to do things twice. I To be honest, I feel like in school you have all these kids that are top of the class and in these special programs and this and that and that type of thing. Um, I feel like that's almost a hindrance. I
Mm,
feel like your average Joe is making up, in my experience, 90 to 95% of C-suite executives at this point. I mean, these
mm,
are people who are, for lack of a better phrase, young, scrappy, and hungry. The old Hamilton situation. You're not given anything, and you make your luck happen
mm,
by consistently being in the right room. You are making those things happen. Going back to this anchor, you are consistently choosing your anchors. You are consistently putting yourself in a position for success.
mm.
Let me just give you one example.
Yeah.
I'm 43, and right about now in life, you're seeing a lot of friends getting divorced and families breaking up and this type of thing. And it kind of just seems like par for the course in your 40s. You're going through a lot, trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to a group of women the other day, and one of the things that I decided before I even got married, before anything, that God would be my number one, my
Mm,
husband would be my number two, and my kids would be third. That those were my anchors, those were my non-negotiables. And so when it came time to find a husband, I found someone that was okay with, God being number one, he's number two, my kid's number three. And I kept making those choices over and over and over again. That
mm,
consistency. So I kept choosing my husband as my number one. And every day I wake up and I say, excuse me, my number two, but every day I wake up and I say, I choose to love this man. I choose to do this. And it's that little trickle effect over time. Making
mhm.
those choices every single day has made it that my husband and I have this fantastic relationship. It's not perfect by any means, but when he rips his quad on day two of the surgery, I don't say, peace out, you're on your own. You
Right.
know, I I say, okay, well, this is what our summer looks like now. This is what the plan is. We're not going on all these fun trips and doing this. We're now doing a staycation at home and you know, working through this together because
Yeah.
it wasn't even an option. Was not even on the table to take these trips without him. Like it wasn't even a question. Of course, we're a family unit and we are going to stay together. And through this adversity, it's actually made us much, much closer as a family, which in turn strengthens my anchors, which in turn strengthens my position. So big
Yeah.
cycle.
Oh, it's really powerful. And it's like it's not even on the list of multiple choice questions, right? The three for you are God, your husband, your family. Those are it. And there's not like D, some of the above, or E, this other thing. And that just makes it really, I know it's really hard, but it makes it really clear and in some ways probably simple to have those kind of
It's
anchors.
actually easier, to be honest, it's actually easier um to make decisions. You don't have to negotiate good, better, best. If
Mm,
you have your anchors in place, let me give you one more example. My youngest just went to kindergarten this year.
okay.
And so my big audacious goal is to give 500 keynote speeches. I literally want to like download what's in my brain into a younger generation. I spent so much time making mistakes that I want to give this knowledge to anyone who wants to receive it.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about my speaking career, last summer my husband brought up the idea, perhaps we should get a nanny from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. because then you can, prior to this, I was a stay-at-home mom for many,
Hmm.
many years. And if I had a nanny from 3 to 7 p.m., that would extend my workday and allow me to give more talks and more
Yeah.
press and this and that. But then when we really sat down to it and we said, okay, well, if family fostering relationships with our family is our number two anchor, that's not going to work. Having
Yeah.
someone driving my kids doing carpool, I don't know about you, but like when my kids get in the car, it's almost like they have truth serum in them or something. Like
Yes.
they just, I
Yes.
know everything about everyone,
Right.
this and that. And there's something about like facing forward and not looking at each other that like they just spill this information. And
Yeah.
I get to meet their friends and I'm driving carpool and I'm knowing who they're hanging out with, what their friends are talking about, what they're wearing, who their crushes and that type. My kids aren't
Yeah.
that old, but
Yeah.
that type of thing. And so I have a real pulse on what's happening with my children.
Yeah.
And I've made a consistent, um, very, very consistent choices that if an opportunity to speak comes up and it's at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday, I say no, that can't
Right.
happen.
Right.
When I was doing this podcast and you gave me a list of times and dates,
Yeah.
Saturday was one of the days available, and Friday afternoons. Well, that's not going to work.
Right.
I can do it when the kids are in school, but that's it.
Right. Right.
And by sticking to those anchors, it's
Yeah.
made my life easier. I don't have to negotiate these different things. What am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about this? No, I'm there for my kids and I'm voting with my time that my
Yeah.
children know that their mom will be there to pick them up from these activities and I'll be waiting in the car for them and I'm there to support them. Now, the interesting part about that is I once originally thought that my speaking career would be very limited because
Mm-hmm.
I could only speak until 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that I am not only attracting higher paid gigs, but in the time frame that I need them.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I guess we'd never know, but if you weren't sticking to your anchors, that probably wouldn't be a possibility, right? The fact that you're showing up that way and my time is valuable and my family's valuable, that means the time you have to speak is also valuable, right? It just all kind of comes together that way. It's really powerful.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important. I have two daughters. I think it's very important, especially for women and daughters to see, yes, you can have everything. You can
Absolutely.
have a career. You can have a family. You need to set those boundaries early on and stick to those. That's the hard part, is sticking to those.
Sure.
And eventually things will come and opportunities will present themselves because you have created those boundaries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as you're writing this book, and you've alluded this a little bit already, so I might already know the answer, but as you're writing this book, I'm curious if there were some ahas for you, because it's one thing to know something and live it, it's another to write it and start to serve others with it. Any sort of ahas as you were writing that and putting it out in the world?
So many. First of all, let me just say, like Jordan B. Peterson, I went to go see him speak, and one of his big things is writing is the purest form of thought.
Mm,
And I completely agree with that. Um, I don't know if you've read The Artist's Way or these different books. I can't think of the other one. Something about journaling. I'll put it in the show notes.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
when you speak, it's almost like, well, when I speak, surprised as you are is what's coming out of my mouth. I'm like Michael Scott. Like sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know where it's going. I just hope to find it along the way.
Sure.
But when you're writing, you're thinking and then you're using, you're typing or you're using an actual pen and
Yeah.
and using two different kinesthetic processes to do this. And so it really filters and helps you not only internalize, but almost like edit yourself. Like, do I
Mm,
really think that? You
mm,
know, because I wouldn't write things that I would say.
Sure.
I don't think before I speak, but I definitely think before I write. And so, like, you talk about aha moments, the entire 225 pages is aha moments. Like, it was so therapeutic for me to get it down on paper and to see, what do I actually believe? Do I actually
Mhm.
believe that you can design your life the way that you want it based on your anchors? Do I truly believe that? And do I truly believe that enough to A, type it, and B, publish it and have other people read it? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to really, like, deep down in your toes, believe that in order to publish something and then promote it, like it, and have other people read it. It's very eye-opening. The funny, so one of the aha moments that I had, um, is that I had been doing all of these things, but not knowing what they were called, or not knowing what, I couldn't put a label to it. This is learned behavior. And in particular, it's learned from my father. I'll give you one quick story here.
Sure.
My dad's from Compton, like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Harley Griffith.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough
Like,
place.
this giant white guy from Compton. And baby boomer, parents didn't go to college, anything like that. He was president of his college. He ended up
Mm.
getting an MBA, pulled himself up by the bootstraps type thing.
Yeah.
And I never knew, we moved to Utah, and I never knew that my family had money ever,
Mm.
because I'd ask my dad for $1 and he'd say, "When are you going to pay me back?" Like,
Mm.
I never knew that we had money. We always had family businesses, and I was literally like the only 8-year-old with a job. Like,
Wow.
on school holidays and summer vacations, we were working. It wasn't like, oh, I'm the boss's kid. No, we owned a cleaning company, and we were like, scrubbing floors and things like that. We were like unpaid manual labor. But years and years and years of doing that, I realized what my dad was doing. But it's only now that I'm writing this book that I'm like, he might have been onto something here. He was fostering these relationships with his children. He was working alongside his children. And he could have hired a million people, and they could have done a much better job than my brothers and I could have done. But he was teaching us, he was putting in the time, and he was
Mm.
showing us the vision. And now today, so my parents and my three brothers, we all live within walking distance to each other. That's how
Wow.
strong our family unit is. Now, we've all had opportunities to move other places or do other things, but that's important to us. And every Sunday at 5 o'clock, we're this big Mormon family. And every Sunday at 5 o'clock, we show up to my mom's house. And that's not by accident.
Yeah.
That is a very calculated way to run a family. And I learned from that example, and I've implemented it in my life.
Yeah. So powerful. And that sense of community, right? For folks that maybe don't have that powerful family you do, they create their own, right? They make their own tribe
Absolutely.
and make that happen. And it's such a big part of our success that I notice folks, and I'm sure you do too, right? We're on their phones, on the scroll, we're disconnected more, and we're missing out on that. However you get it, family or friends or loved ones or church or whatever, it is such an important part of success. And I'm so glad you brought that up because it's not just
We are social beings.
right,
You
right,
can't you can't
right,
deny that humans are social beings.
right,
We need to lean into that.
right. 100%. Love that. So I'm curious, you're incredibly authentic, by the way, right? You show up as who you are, and I'm sure that's in your book. It's not just another management leadership book. This is your
No.
story, and you're passing on, like your dad passed on to you, you're passing this on to others. How would folks, connect with you, Heather? I know you're the queen of raps, but and we'll put things in the show notes. But what's a great way for folks in the audience that are excited and want to learn more about this and want the things that you've gotten out of life? How would they engage with you?
I would love for them to follow me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Yep.
And my pre-sale for my books starts July 29th. This is a whole new industry for me. I had no idea like that you pre-sold books before it came out. It
Right.
blow my mind, right? Like I'm used to producing a product and then selling it, but
Right.
that's not how books go. So I on my vision board is being on the New York Times bestseller. And how do I do that? I got to pre-sell some books. So I would love support in that aspect. And I would love help with beta reading and author community and that type of stuff. So that will all be in the show notes. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's make that happen. I think that's exceptional. Heather, love having you on the show. The thing I ask all of our guests before we wrap up is, what's one thing you're thankful or grateful for today?
Oh my goodness, today. Oh, I have so many things today. But and this might not be a big win for anyone else, but this is a big win for us. My husband had one of those like mobility scooters, like to
Yeah,
go more than say 20 feet, 30 feet. He just graduated from that. So I mean, that's huge. That's huge for my
absolutely.
family. That's
Absolutely.
gigantic for my family that he can walk to the mailbox, get the mail, and then come back without a mobility scooter. So it's a big win, big W for Team Barber today.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. We'll hope for more continued wins for them. That's great. Thank you so much for being on Leading the Way. Thank you for leading the way in your own family and tribe and community. That's just such a powerful example for everyone. And certainly young women, as you said so successfully earlier, you can have it all. It's about having those anchors and dedication and your family and tribe all lined up. So congratulations to you on your book release and the future being a bestseller. And thanks so much for leading the way. Thanks, audience, for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe and share with a friend if you like this message. Keep leading the way and take care. Thank you for listening to Leading the Way podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss other great episodes like this one. And if you're ready for more in your workplace, be sure to go to aintent.com. You'll find lots of free tools, assessments, and ways to engage directly with us to get your own epic results. We'll see you there.